little less than a minute, I suppose. Good evening to you all, and welcome to this special meeting of the Garner Town Council, June 9, 2020. This is okay, we get a delay here. At any rate, maybe they'll work that out. But at any rate, this is our first in-person meeting that we've had probably for the last 6 weeks or maybe 2 months. And so we welcome you here. I'm personally glad that we are getting back to these types of meetings. I think they will go smoothly. Obviously, those of you who are in the audience understand that we are trying to be sensitive to current rules and regulations and make sure that there is social distancing. So as a result, obviously our council is not filled up with all the people who desire to be here. And I believe those who are listening upstairs in our overflow area, I will say to you that as we progress this evening, I know there are a number of you who wish to come down and speak, and so we will make arrangements for that and perhaps give you a few more logistics as we move forward. I would say to those of you who are in the room here, if after you've had an opportunity to speak, if you would consider potentially leaving the area and going upstairs and letting someone else come down to fill your spot. I realize there are others of you who may want to be here for the duration, so we'll just try to work with you around that. So we're going to begin this evening. This is a special meeting, as I've said. Mentioned the social distancing, I believe, and so this is a one-item agenda. I would ask all of you who speak to be conscious of time, be as concise as you can be, and for those members of the public who will be speaking, we'll probably make some inquiry as to whether or not you are speaking for several people, and if so, we will acknowledge your representation of the number of people perhaps that you're speaking for. So I'm going to begin this evening by recognizing our town manager, who will make perhaps a few comments and introduce the folks from Amazon and Hillwood who will be, I believe, presenting first.
Thanks. Mayor, Town Council, a few weeks ago, staff got a request from Hillwood / Amazon to allow them to operate the facility prior to the road work being complete. Knowing that that was a condition in the special use permit, we brought that to you where you were able to discuss that at a council meeting. And knowing that it was a condition and that there were some resident concerns when that condition was put in place, you requested that we work with Hillwood to get input from the community. Amazon and Hillwood expressed that there were some extenuating circumstances that they would like the council to consider in making that decision, and knowing, like I said, that there was some community input when the SUP was put in place, you asked that we make means to get some of that input and to see where the community was. So that's why we find ourselves here tonight, is to listen to Hillwood and Amazon as they present. I think they're going to talk about what the plan is for the road, the final plan that was presented, as well as what the temporary measures are that they plan to put in place, depending on what the council decides here tonight. And then we also have residents from the various neighborhoods and along the Jones Sausage corridor here to voice their opinion. We've got some in writing. We forward them to you using our online form and other formats. And so I think you're here to just take that in consideration as you make a decision as to whether to amend the SUP that would allow Amazon to fully operate while the road work is being completed. So with that, I think we have here Scott Martin. Is he here? All right.
Hiding behind the mask.
Okay. And then I will let you introduce your folks.
Okay.
Because I don't know them. So you're welcome to go to the podium to speak.
And I'm sure Mr. Martin understands this, but just for those others of you who may want to speak when you come to the podium, if you will, state your name and address. We need to record those for our purposes, and then you may proceed.
Okay, I'm Scott Martin. I'm with Hillwood, 910 North Parkwood Road, Decatur, Georgia.
Okay.
With me on my team presenting this afternoon, this evening, is Jason Bertocchino with Withers Ravenel, Adam Comptis with Amazon, and John Magnus with Hillwood. So they'll be kind of following up behind me.
I would say before Scott speaks is we do have some folks on teams. Some are town staff with us virtually, and I think some are either Amazon or Hillwood.
That's correct. Yeah, I apologize for that. We also have Jessica Bro with Amazon on the line, and Susie Allaire with K&L Gates is kind of here, but she's on our team, and I don't know that she'll be speaking.
Okay, thank you, and I welcome those of you who are, I say, virtually with us this evening, and as we proceed, if you need to speak, we will recognize you as well.
Gotcha. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. We appreciate the opportunity to discuss this request all together in your presence tonight. Hillwood committed as part of our special use permit granted in July of 2018 to complete the recommended improvements from the traffic impact analysis. The TIA recommendations included widening of Jones Sausage Road along the facility frontage, signals at Calabar Street and Amazon access number 4, as well as a right turn lane at East Garner Road. As you're aware, we're currently in the process of completing these improvements. And we are very appreciative of everyone's patience and understanding throughout this entire construction process, including the building itself. As was discussed in previous meetings, Hillwood has been delayed at multiple points throughout the design, permitting, bidding, and construction phases of the road improvement process. We're currently being delayed by unforeseen conditions and utilities that, even though we followed proper procedure to locate, were unknown as we began this work. Anecdotally, AT&T, we mentioned them in the past here. They actually ran lines along the right-of-way while we were under construction. And then, as of even 2 weeks ago, AT&T still didn't have a good idea of exactly where all their lines were on the road. We actually had our construction crews were actually pointing out AT&T lines that we found for them to move, even though we paid them a substantial sum of money to design, to find all this, to design it, and then relocate it. City of Raleigh Water, we asked them to locate their lines. They came out and provided a locate. We found a 12-inch line while we were trying to connect actually the building that feeds Wilmington Road, and we're out there. We had to kind of halt our design process, redo some design work, redesign some work to actually get approved and permitted through City of Raleigh Water so we could relocate that line. That's actually going to be finished within the next day or so. We've been coordinating with all these utilities for over a year. And I understand the frustration that the town has. I understand the frustration that the residents have. We are just as frustrated. But the good news is all these obstructions are currently being relocated. They're all in process right now. We've received commitments that the west side of Jones Sausage Road, the side opposite of the facility, will be clear of obstructions by July 1. We've received commitments that the east side, the facility side, will be clear of obstructions by August 1. That's the schedule that we're basing this off of. So we put together this traffic mitigation plan as carefully and as thoughtfully as we could with the town of Garner residents and specifically their safety in mind. We understand that there is traffic on Jones Sausage Road and that sometimes that traffic is very difficult to deal with. And so all of these measures that we're going to talk about tonight and that we've talked about the past few weeks have all been, with those residents in mind. Additionally, all of these conditions and commitments, they've all been negotiated and discussed with both Town of Garner staff and the NCDOT. The traffic inconvenience with us completing this work will be temporary. At the end of the day, I think we're talking, 60 days to 90 days. And then we will be done, out of the way. Or, as we'll see later, the town has some ability to come back on us and penalize us for not being able to deliver. As the utilities are cleared, we will take every opportunity to expedite this work as much as possible. And our intent is to be complete well prior to September 30. And that's what we are pushing our contractor as hard as we possibly can do. We've talked about night work, we've talked about additional crews, we've talked about a lot of different things, and that would be all borne at Hillwood's cost to get this done as timely as possible for the town of Garner and its residents. So we're here to request that the requirement for the offsite road work completion be amended to allow for building occupancy, provided we meet the conditions that were provided in the June 5th memo. We'd actually prefer that the amendment match the letter that we received from Tony Chalk on August 1st of 2018 with those requirements. But we're willing to additionally, or we're willing to add the other conditions and the other requirements that we've already talked about with this council. We understand that all the base building and life safety requirements that the Town of Garner Building Department is going to have, well, they will all be complied with prior to any sort of occupancy of this building. We're only talking about the road. So I'll kind of jump into the slides and to kind of give you guys a visual representation of kind of what we're talking about in terms of the conditions and the traffic mitigation efforts that we want to put in place. So just kind of at a high level, I'm going to really kind of focus on this date certain aspect, the penalty for a late delivery, and our communication plan. Jason Berticino, our civil engineer, who's been working with both staff and with NCDOT, as well as our traffic consultant, Mont McDonald, who prepared the traffic impact analysis and prepared a letter that was attached in a previous town council meeting. He's been coordinating with them to make sure that all the stuff that we're proposing, everything that we're trying to do works and actually does good for the town. And then Adam Comtis with Amazon is going to talk about operations ramp up, shift staggering, and job opportunities. So again, going back to the date certain, September 30th, 2020 is when we are committing to have all the required road improvements open to traffic. That includes everything along Jones Sausage Road in the frontage of the building, as well as the work at East Garner. I know one of the comments from the last time we met, we were still working on one of the final temporary construction easements. We've actually received that. Easement as of earlier this week. We had a little trouble tracking down some folks, but we managed to get a hold of them. Next thing is the penalty for late delivery. If we are late and we can't have this thing complete by September 30th, we commit to the town, you guys are welcome to come back and penalize us $1,000 a day for every day that we go beyond that September 30th date. And then the communication plan. John Hodges and I have spoken about this a couple of times, trying to kind of coordinate. We've already been kind of coordinating on the best way to provide messaging to the town residents and what that's going to look like. As early as next week, I was going to start getting him information on, status updates as far as our progress goes, as well as, providing timely information if traffic routing is going to change, because, this is still an active construction site. We're going to have lanes open and available, but those lanes may shift to one side of the road or the other as we're completing things. But we'll make sure that the town of Garner residents are fully aware of what our intentions are ahead of time. Now I'll bring in Jason Bertuccino to talk about our actual mitigation measures and plans.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. My name is Jason Bertuccino with Withers Ravenel. Address is 2293 Toad Hollow Trail in Apex, North Carolina. As Scott said, I've been brought up to go over as straightforwardly as I can about the proposed improvements. We did engage Mont McDonald to do the original traffic study for the site, did the original permanent signal design to look at the interim conditions, what could be done, as well as design temporary signals for a couple of locations into the site. As of late last week, the temporary signal plan, the results of this meeting notwithstanding, DOT has approved a temporary signal plan, and we continue to work with NCDOT to work on the final lane tapers and storage links, things of that nature, to finalize prior to this date. Again, the results of this meeting notwithstanding. The proposed improvements come in many forms at many different times. First case being this June 21st date. What we're proposing at site entrance 1, there on the left of the screen, to have all truck traffic entering and exiting the site. That will be exclusively a truck entrance. For that, we're providing 200 feet of storage there in the light blue, as well as through lanes shown in the green north and south along Jones Sausage Road. The next intersection, which is we call Site Access 2 and Cowbar Street, will be temporary signals. Those temporary signals will start out as trailer-mounted signals with extension arms to provide turn arrows, things of that nature at that thing, and eventually, once the poles are set and the permanent signal heads installed, they will be converted into another temporary signal arrangement with the overhead signals, and then the final signal arrangement once the improvements are done. It should be noted that at Cowbar, when the ultimate project is done, there will be a left turn out as well as a right turn, straight turn combination lane leaving Cowbar Street from the Hunters Mark subdivision. At that particular intersection, we start off with 350 feet of storage into the Amazon site at Site Access 2 and 200 plus feet of storage onto Cowbar Street, left turn storage that is, off of Jones Sausage Road onto Cowbar Street. Moving then further south at Site Access 4, that's the other full service intersection for the site. Again, we're providing another 250 feet of turn lane storage as well as temporary signals. Again, similar to Cowbar Street, these will be trailer mounted temporary signals for the first month of the project and then be converted to overhead signals. Final improvement occurs at Site Access 6 at the furthest south end of the project. That provides 200 feet of storage, and this will allow trucks to enter the site. They will not leave the site at this entrance until all roadway improvements are done. They'll continue to use Site Access 1 at the north end of the site, but will allow us to increase the lane storage at Site Access 2 and that signal entering to the site. One of the things that was mentioned is sort of the final improvements. There will be, across the front of the site, there will be 2 lanes north, 2 lanes south, as well as the turn lanes all mentioned in the original traffic study. There'll be some right turn lanes into the site, left turn lanes into the site, left turn lanes into Cowbar. The only thing that should be noted, obviously at the southern end of the site, it will be returning to a 1-lane road, and so the last few hundred feet will taper down. Even though that will be paved, the 4-lane section will be paved, sidewalk will be installed, it will be tapered back down into a 1-lane section so you could transition into the existing Jones Sausage Road section. And that really concludes the proposed temporary improvements as well as the permanent improvements for the site.
So this is,
Scott, just for a minute, I wasn't sure if we were going to do questions until further along, but I believe, particularly for Jason, you want to ask a question?
Right, would like to ask a question. There's another street there between 40, where you come off of I-40 on the Jones Sausage Road and Hunter's Mark is called Martin Branch Road. What are the, what kind of mitigation is planned for that? There's a commercial greenhouse at the end of that road, so there is traffic in and out, as well as people who live there. So what do you plan to do to help that situation?
There are no proposed temporary improvements at Martin Branch Road. That's something that hasn't been discussed. Again, there is some widening occurring in that area ultimately, but there is no additional turn lanes and things proposed as a part of the current or the future plans. To the extent that there is a little bit of widening there as it relates to the gas station and whatnot. Those will not be taken away. Those will still exist. There's no median construction in that area. So those existing lanes should be able to remain in place as they do today.
Okay, council satisfied to proceed at this point? We'll certainly have opportunity for questions in a little bit.
Great, and this slide here is just a representation of kind of how, as of August 1, once we have the kind of full 3 lanes all the way going through the site, how the trucks, will kind of route. They'll go in through the southern entrance, kind of on the right side of the screen, and wind their way through and exit out the north entrance. And this is just kind of a little representation of exactly where these temporary signals are going to be in place as of June 21st. Then I'll hand it off to Adam Comtis with Amazon to talk about operations ramp up and other Amazon items.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Adam Comtois, Amazon. My address is 5900 Tropic Court in Wilmington, North Carolina. So in conjunction with the mitigations already discussed by Hillwood and Withers, I'd like to go over the mitigations that Amazon intends to implement. So first thing I'd like to discuss is our ramp up. So we intend to launch the facility on July the 5th. And we've intentionally extended our ramp up period to coincide with the work that's ongoing at the road, to alleviate measures there. So for the 8 to 10 weeks after we launch the facility on the 5th, we'll hit our full operational capacity kind of in the mid-September range, which is 2 weeks there before we have committed to completing the road work at Jones Sausage. An additional measure that we've taken, our local operations team has worked considerably to help with our shift staggering and alleviating the number of folks that will be entering and exiting the facility. During the weeks when we will be ramping our operation. So from the time that we launched the facility on the 5th, the first 2 weeks of July, we expect there to be between 75 and 100 associates entering and exiting the facility between the peak traffic flow hours of 5:15 and 6 p.m. And then we've also listed there our estimated maximum truck traffic per day. That's typically a breakdown of about 60% on the day shift and 40% on the night shift. So for those first 2 weeks, we're expecting 5 to 20 trucks. In those next 2 weeks from 7/19 to 8/1, during the height of our shift change, we're expecting 127 to 175 associates between the hours of 5:45 and 6:15 p.m. And then the truck count goes to 24 to 30 per day. For the period from 8/2 to 8/15, we're expecting 225 to 275 associates between 5:45 and 6:15, and a truck count going between 44 and 60. And then from 8/16 to 8/29, We expect to see a maximum of 300 to 375 associates between 5:45 and 6:15, and a maximum daily truck count of 68 to 98. And then the last 2 weeks of our ramp schedule from 8:30 to 9:12, we expect the maximum total traffic flow to be between 400 and 525 associates between 5:45 and 6:15, with the maximum daily truck count of 95 to 110. The last point we wanted to touch on was obviously the job opportunities that our facility will provide to the local community, both to the town of Garner and surrounding communities. You know, in the weeks leading up to our launch on 7/5, there will be thousands of immediate job opportunities for local residents of all skill levels. In addition to that, Amazon offers a leading pay scale of a minimum wage of about $15 an hour, along with a comprehensive benefits package. So we really wanted to stress the opportunity for residents given the current climate that we're in with unemployment and. Turn it back over to you, Scott.
Thanks, Adam. I just wanted to touch on a couple things real quick.
Excuse me, Mayor, sorry. Can I ask a question before? Was it Jay?
Adam, is it?
Or
I
Adam? Sorry,
believe
Adam.
there's no reason why that couldn't happen, yes.
The slides you went over with the incoming and outgoing, those are the PM movements. Do you have any information on the AM movements?
Yeah, we have information on the AM movements as well, but it would be less than what's presented here. And that information's it's been provided to the council and to the staff already, I think, when we had our first council meeting. So the information surrounding the morning flow is provided in that document.
Will be less than each one of those?
Yeah, we provided this this snapshot because this is the worst case, and this is presented on our shift change peak, which is typically Wednesdays. So we presented this as the worst case.
Mayor, Mr. Mayor, I have a
So, hold
I have
on
a
just
quick
one
question
minute.
to you.
Yeah, I think I'm confirming what you just said. The information we had presented, associate traffic, let's see, PM did not present AM. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah. So effectively, what I'm saying here is the PM flows that we've presented here are worst case. So the morning flows would be less than what's presented here.
Mr. Dellinger.
Just a question on, yes, I see the ramp up, but how would you measure sticking to this schedule with regards to this type of flow with trucks and associates, and how would we be able to verify that?
Can you repeat the question?
How would, you have your ramp up schedule, how would we be able to verify that this is anywhere in range and it wasn't ramped up by the first week of August to 100%?
Well, so I mean, we have operationally, we have a plan, and, we've got schedule, we've got people to hire, so we intend to stick to the schedule that we've provided here.
Would there be some way for you all to send these rates to us as you scale up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, satisfied here, okay. I believe if you are finished, we'll hear from the next person.
And Larry maybe add information to what the question was.
Okay.
Yeah, Holly's gonna add some
Okay.
additional info here.
Yeah, hi, Holly Sullivan. I lead our global economic development for Amazon. So on that question, we're happy to give you progress reports of hiring and some of our truck traffic just as we go along and continue the ramp up. We've done that in other communities, and we're happy to provide that information to you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to make a couple quick clarifications real quick. Congresswoman Behringer, in terms of Martin Branch Road, you know, it was never contemplated in the traffic impact analysis that was prepared 2 years ago, that there was any additional requirements, anything special that we would have to put in for any sort of traffic mitigation or measures specifically for Martin Branch. So that's the reason that it hasn't been a part of this, because, you know, what we've been kind of focused on is this kind of, you know, stretch of road where, you know, we've got, you know, signals to put in, turn lanes to put in, everything kind of along the frontage, and Martin Branch just wasn't part of that, you know, from the kind of get-go. So just a little update there. And then, you know, just wanted to kind of reiterate for the council that in terms of this slide, the associates, that is the total of incoming and outgoing. So, you know, it's not, you're not doubling that for you know, people, you know, half these people are going to come, or you know, 75 people are going to come and then 75 people are going to leave. It's going to be a total of 75 people are coming and going on that first week. And then again, the trucks, that is the total amount for the entire 24-hour period. That's not just during the PM hour. It's not 95 to 100 trucks, you know, in a 30-minute period. It's 95 to 100 trucks, maybe over a full 24 hours of a day. So I'm going to hand it off to John Magnus with Hillwood to kind of make some remarks.
Welcome.
Thank you. My name is John Magnus. I work with Hillwood, 34711 Cali Loma, Dana Point, California. I'm here, flew all the way this way because this is an important day for us in finishing a project and starting a 20-year relationship with the city. I handle all of our projects with Amazon, and I have with me our president of our company. We're that committed to making sure this goes smoothly, and we're here to answer any of your questions. Distinguished council members and Mr. Mayor, I'm not a stranger to this part. I spent 13 years at Fort Bragg, working with the special operations there, and gotten to know and love the city and the town, and have traveled through many times. In 2017, I was fortunate enough to come here and meet Bill Anderson and Joe Stallings, and we launched this dream of, ironically, 11 years ago, a tragedy here in this town, and say, how could we help? How could we kind of resurrect this dead site and create something special? And I would think, driving by it today, you would say, this is pretty special. This is $200 million and thousands of jobs that have decided to call Garner home. And it's a remarkable change from when we first came here. When we first came here in 2017 and in 2018 negotiated the special use permit, we were given a letter negotiated by the city attorney and signed by the city engineer that said, fortuitously, if you can't finish the road improvements for some unforeseen circumstance, here's what you need to do. It was a great roadmap of 3 things we needed to do. Make it safe, fully fund it so not one dime comes out of the city, and mitigate any potential traffic impacts that may occur if this were to happen. Of course, we really did foresee a pandemic, a recession, a DOT major change of scope, funding shortages, water lines, AT&T lines, all preventing a timely finish of that road. But we got the building done. We got Amazon here. We signed a 20-year lease with a company here that is changing the world and is bringing that magic to Garner. On June 9th, today, we're ready to go. And of course, 35% of the road and the road improvements are complete. But you haven't heard that yet. 35% is done, and we're almost there. Why would we want to let a $200 million asset and thousands of jobs wait. It's a dime waiting on a dollar. We need to get going. We need these jobs here. There's a chance that if we wait, and if you pause and wait several months for these road improvements to be done, the world can change again. And we want to seize the opportunity and work with you now to make sure it's safe, fully funded, and these issues of traffic, that nobody likes traffic. Nobody likes sitting behind a truck or a car and waiting to turn, but they can be mitigated. Those temporary lights that are put out there are at our cost, not at the city's cost. Those are at our cost because it's the right thing to do. So where are we now? We have a conflict, right? We have a conflict of commitments that you've made to us in 2018 that we take very seriously. We have commitments that you've made to your constituents and commitments that we've made to Amazon and Amazon's made to this community. So how do we move forward? The only thing I know how to do is to work it out and to compromise and to mitigate any potential issues. So what you've heard today is pretty amazing. Amazon is willing to stagger their shifts to lessen the traffic burden. Hillwood's willing to pay thousands of dollars a day in case we don't finish it on time. We're talking about 60 days before the road improvements are complete that we're asking for some leniency on, and a commitment that's already been made to our company. But we're willing to come back before you and work with you to make that happen. We read all the comments. We listened to every comment that the citizens made, and those were important. It's democracy in action. And we took those very seriously. So what did we do? We said, if you're worried about safety, we're going to put traffic control out there at Amazon's cost or at Hillwood's cost with traffic signals and people out there to direct traffic to make sure it's safe, because we wouldn't do it unless it's safe. We had several comments of people coming out of Hunter's Mark that said, I don't want to be waiting 20 minutes to make a left turn. Well, nobody's waiting 20 minutes, but there was a drone that was flown at the peak. We flew it at the very peak traffic time over that intersection. The longest anybody waited was 80 seconds to make a left turn. And the average was 45 seconds. But with a traffic signal there, you won't be trying to find a break and make it unsafe. You'll be able to get out there because the traffic light will direct that traffic. So we're just asking for some reasonableness. We're asking for an opportunity to open the facility. We heard the council. You asked us to get back to you with some action items. We have. We heard the citizens and their remarks, especially the ones from Hunter's Mark. The people who live there deserve to know what we intend to do and how fast we intend to do it. Is it safe? Is it fully funded? And is it mitigated? And all three things are done. And we hope that you'll work with us in ensuring that Amazon can start operations as soon as possible so we can get those jobs here. Thank you.
Sure.
Can I ask him a question?
Okay, got a question.
Mr. Magnus, you stated that 60 days. July 5th to September 31st is not 60 days, it's 87 days.
That's a great point. Let me pull up that slide here. What we're talking about is from the time that today, where we sit, in July 5th, when Amazon starts bringing in people very slowly, but starts bringing in people to the site. You saw how the staggered shift changes would work and how their ramp up would work. That extended ramp up period should not put a burden on the road system, but we're going to make sure it doesn't with mitigation measures. All the way out until they're at full operational capacity. And we're talking about that time there until the project's done. We're saying September 30th. So that time in there, the most it should be is 60 days. Now, I can't predict the weather. We don't need the rain that we had this spring here. We don't need the pandemic, and we don't need a recession. But we're working through all of that and working with you to make sure that this happens in a timely manner. And we're willing to put our money where our mouth is. I don't think it's been mentioned, but we've offered from 2018 to put up the letter of credit that far exceeds the cost. So you know it's going to get done. That costs money for us to do, but also then we added a penalty in case it's not done. But it costs money every day to not have it done, and it should, because you are working with us and working with the citizens there to make sure the traffic is not too impactful.
We all do know that school starts back up in August. Make sure everybody knows
I
that.
hope so.
There'll be a lot of traffic on Jones Sausage Road.
I hope
We've
so.
been lucky the last 3 months from that lack of that traffic. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just want to conclude on behalf of the company and thank you all so much for your time this evening and working through us throughout this process. I'm reminded of one of our leadership principles at Amazon, and that's to earn trust. And we're here to earn your trust and be good neighbors. We have over 5,000 associates currently working in the state of North Carolina. This would bring over 1,500 new jobs to your community, which would be your constituents, shopping, buying gas, buying homes here, sending their kids to school, hopefully in August. Hopefully I can send mine to school in August. And this is an important project. You know, John flew across the country. I also came in from out of town, and this is a priority for us. It's a priority because your constituents also need these essential items right now. I'm looking, you know, in the audience, and we're all wearing masks, and so this isn't over yet. And, you know, we're running at capacity, so this project is very important to us. It's important to our company, but I think it's important to the community also. We're here to answer your questions. We are going to be good neighbors. We want to partner with you. We want to learn from you and learn how we can be better neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Scott, anything else at this point?
No, sir, that's it.
Okay. Just to clarify, at this point, I'm going to give all the council members an opportunity who've heard this presentation, obviously, if they have other questions that they didn't get a chance to ask during that time. After this portion of the council comments and questions, and then we will go to comments from the public who've come this evening and desiring to address the council. So at this point, Ms. Behringer, do you care to go first? Nope. Okay. Mr. Vance?
Yes, I have a question for Jason, as pertains to the roadway design. You can pull up that schematic of the those single locations.
One specific one that you want to speak to?
Well, that's a good one to start with right there. In reference to the start and end of the project, where are those points? The project terminus and beginning and end?
When you say the points, which points are you referring to? The improvement points?
Well, the start of construction for you and the end of construction for you.
On-site, so the bulk of the construction is from the northernmost entrance, sort of there where the end arrow is on the bottom left of the screen, and to the end of the southernmost entrance there at the top right of the screen. There are tapers to the south of that where we again bring the road back into the existing two-lane section along Jones Sausage. And then north of the left of the screen here, going towards the interstate, there is some slight widening. Again, there's not the median construction that there is in front of the project. There is a little outside widening to continue those lanes to add the 4 lanes out to the interstate, obviously, which will need to tie to that project when it's finished.
Okay. What is the type typical proposed to go along the frontage, the type typical 2-lane, 4-lane, or?
It is a 4-lane median divided roadway, so the median, not quite as large as you might see out on US 70, but larger than most medians. That median will accommodate left turn lanes in either direction as appropriate.
Right. How will the singles help with Hunter's Mark when it comes to sitting and waiting for traffic and things of that nature? Can you explain that more so clearly?
So one of the challenges in traffic isn't simply the amount of traffic, it's also the gaps in the traffic. So obviously you have to have a safe gap between cars before you come in. With left turn, you have to have them in 2 directions as opposed to right turn, you just need them in 1 direction. So really what the traffic signals do is they stop traffic, they create safe gaps, and they sort of group the north and the southbound traffic together a little bit, and again, create openings, safe openings for the Hunter's Mark folks, as well as the site folks.
Will that be an improvement?
Pardon me?
Will that be an improvement or from the current traffic situation there now?
Again, all of that's relative, what's going on. It is an improvement over the existing improved traffic control plan. Yes, we don't know what all is going to happen with traffic, with the things going on in the world these days, but there's no question that providing signals will provide safer and more readily available gaps for the folks leaving those properties, yes.
Okay. With this typical section and the designs that are being proposed right now, how will that improve with the current congestion issues that are out there during the peak hour periods?
Again, during the peak hour periods, what we've observed in watching the traffic is not only is there a steady volume of traffic, but there's a steady volume of traffic that are sort of spaced out, coming down through there, whether they're coming off the ramps and things like that. So again, providing the signals, it will stop the traffic, allow them to have a safe exiting from their neighborhood or exiting from the site to make those turning movements without having to worry about finding a safe gap in traffic and sort of guessing, for lack of a better description.
Okay, all right. Do you have an approved schedule from DOT? The schedule that you presented to DOT, has that been approved by DOT?
The traffic signals have been approved temporary signals. Again, they won't be implemented this meeting notwithstanding. The final lane configuration, sort of how you shift in and shift out, we're going through a couple round of comments and should hopefully have that last review with them this week.
Okay, so I guess you do not have an approved schedule from DOT.
The signals are approved. We do not have a final plan. Again, we know what we're supposed to do. We're just how you taper in, you sort of veer from lane to lane, if you will, is what we're finalizing the details on.
Okay.
Make sure that's done safely.
Okay. How long are your temporary singles good for? Will DOT allow you to have your temporary singles there before you have to put in something more permanent?
So the temporary signal plan that are what I discussed earlier, the trailer mounted signals are good for 30 days from the time that they become operational. And then after that date, they will have to go to overhead signals.
Okay. I have no further questions, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I'll come back around this way to Mr. Dellinger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for all the residents who are here and all the folks from Hillwood and Amazon. I don't really have a question, just a comment. A lot of these accommodations have been made and provisions from Hillwood. My issue really is that the matter we have before us on the change of the SUP, none of these conditions are preconditions. So there's nothing that has to be done based on what's before us before an issuance or a change. These are all sort of after the fact. So that sort of gives me pause too, that there's no performance required before the town is requested to take an action. So that's my only comment.
Scott?
Yeah, if I can address that, what we're putting in front of you is a plan that starts on June 21st. And we've got some items that we need to complete prior to June 21st. You've heard Amazon say that they're not going to occupy or they're not going to, kind of start their ramp up until July 5th. There's obviously some time in between those two items that we can work together. And you guys are welcome to come out and you can kind of see what we've got in place and make sure that we're holding up our end of the bargain. And if we're not, you don't have to issue the TCO. That, to me, that's the remedy, and so we're offering to do all this, and you guys have the ability to come and make sure that that we're holding up our end of the bargain.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll go to Mr. Singleton.
Mr. Mayor, I appreciate the information presented. Look forward to hearing from the residents. Mentioned that 35% of the road improvements are done. that means that 65% of the road improvements are not done. I don't know if I'd have said that, but anyway, that's just me. A third's done and 2/3 not. If it'd been the other way around, that'd have been better, but saying 35% are done, and we want us to, and the original permit said that it had to be completed, that's not a good look. That's all.
Matthews?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and appreciate the presentation tonight. It was more in detail, and I'm sure a lot of the folks out in the audience will have some questions and want to find out a little bit more about it. Of the letters we got, signalization obviously is a hot topic, being able to get in and out of your development out there, and I thoroughly understand that. And the letters I got and comments from made, that was a hot item. Truly hoping that somewhere in the process of all this, granted any construction to do, whether it's your home or my home or any business, we're all at the mercy of the weather, we're at the mercy of the utilities. The virus come to pay us a visit and is still with us, and nobody's expecting that. A lot of things have happened, but I truly believe that as a community, when I say a community, I'm talking about all the residents here that's concerned about what's going on. We value your input. Let me make that very clear. We value your input to make this thing work. I'm very impressed with the business and what it's going to do for our community and provide jobs and revenue, which is a very important thing. So my biggest point I'd like to make tonight, rather than, I'm not here to nitpick things apart. We could be here to Saturday morning if all of us wanted to do that. And so I don't think we need to go down that road. But I think if we will genuinely talk tonight, I look forward to hearing from the residents, if we can put all this out in a very meaningful way and with an open, be receptive to what is presented, that hopefully collectively we can come up with a plan that will work, that'll take care of the residents and their concerns in this short period of time till we get it totally complete in September. But if we could all work together, negotiate this thing out, what needs to be fixed, let's try to fix it. Let's don't try to beat up on anybody, and because I think, you know, this is our town. We want to preserve it. We want to take care of our communities. Yet at the same time, we want businesses to come here and provide jobs also. So hopefully we can all come together. That's been a big term. It's been used a lot in the last couple of weeks. But if we can all genuinely come together and work together, I truly believe, Mr. Mayor, that we can find common ground here and move this project forward, and at the same time take care of all the folks that's living out that way. So if you folks will have an open mind, we'll have an open mind, and also Amazon's got an open mind. We can work this thing out, and I hope we can do that. I look forward to your comments, and that's all I got right now, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Council, unless anybody else has something, I'm going to start recognizing those from the public who come to speak this evening. Anybody have a further comment at this point? Ms. Gibson, did we have a sign-ups even this evening, a list? If you could bring that to me, I will probably use that initially for those who wish to speak. And as I mentioned earlier, probably we'll recognize some folks here in the audience, and then we will switch to those who are not able to be here but are upstairs, and we'll take comments from some of those. So I will be happy to hear at this time from a Mr. Ralph Carson. Mr. Carson here, okay. Could you state your name and address, sir?
Yes, my name is Ralph Carson, 404 Hay River Street, Garner, North Carolina. Mayor, members of council, I'd like to thank you for your thoughtful comments at the council meeting of last week and for the foresight of tabling that motion to have this special meeting this evening. I'd like to also take a moment to thank Councilman Dellinger, who in the last week has spent countless hours on the phone with residents in the neighborhood, communicating through email, communicating through Zoom teleconferencing. I think he got a good sense of what the community concerns are. And I'd like to thank him for all of his help in assisting that dialogue. We're happy that Amazon has chosen Garner. Personally, I'm a big fan of Amazon. I think they're going to be a great addition to the community, but that's not the issue that we have at hand here tonight. July 2nd, 2018, I appeared before Town Council here and discussed the shortcomings and oversights of the traffic control plan, which we all see in action out there now. And we had a commitment with the SUP agreement that there's going to be certain amendments to this that was discussed. We raised additional concerns at the SUP hearing, and we got a commitment from Town Council that they would not be allowed to open for business until the road was substantially complete. So this was July 2018. 3 days later, after the approval to start, the approval of the SUP, they're out there starting construction, which means in all likelihood in 2017, they had the engineering, the design, the plans were all done for the building itself and the site. So May 6, 2019, I again appeared before council and we discussed what we've seen as delays and lack of progress on the widening, lack of design. And again, we were given a commitment from Town Council. They would not be allowed to open for business until the road was substantially complete. So again, that happened. So here we are now, 3 years after the initial design work was done, and Hillwood is asking for an amendment, a TCO, to open for business, and without the completion of Jones Sausage Road as a condition. Now, due to lack of coordination, lack of planning, lack of anticipating the problems that they would encounter, they're asking us as the residents with 2 days' notice in a letter to respond with comments. And I think that is an indication of how it's kind of being ramrodded. We're given 2 days to respond. That doesn't show a great deal of concern for the residents, doesn't give a great deal of confidence that things are being well thought out and well planned. And so we get the letter, and we have a phone number on there to call. Phone number's wrong. That's not great planning. I think that, there's some things slipping through the cracks here. So, again, last week, we had utility crews that were out there from AT&T. 6 trucks, 3 splicing crews, moving the AT&T lines. They talk about communication. Where was the communication that said we're going to have our internet service out for 2 days? We got people working from home. We have students that are working. There's things that they're submitting online. There's Zoom meetings with people working from home. No communication, no advance notice. You're without your internet service for 2 days. That's good communication. So we have a very reputable company, ST Wooten, that's out there doing the work. We have a very reputable engineering firm, Withers and Ravenel. I've worked with them. I've worked with ST Wooten. We have Hillwood, who, this is not their first rodeo. They do these projects for Amazon around the nation. They should know and anticipate there's going to be certain issues that come up. And how this has not been anticipated is kind of beyond me. So, as was stated, they're out there working on the site, and AT&T's putting in a line. It's in the wrong spot. Nobody thought to say, hey, stop for a minute. Why are you putting that in the wrong spot? No, they let them put it in. And then they claim that that's holding up their project. Well, that's a pretty substantial mistake right there. Now, yes, they found an additional water lines, 12-inch. That happens all the time. Those are fairly easy fixes. But when you watch them put 3,400 feet of cable down the side of the road in the wrong spot, that's kind of a concern. So they talk about communication and how they want to engage council and the residents. You know how many meetings they've requested with our homeowners association the last 2 years? 0. No meetings, no communication, no, hey, here's what we're doing, would you like to have a general meeting just to discuss what the plan is? Nothing. So, we know the jobs are gonna come. Next month, 2 months, 3 months, they're coming. The road widening's gonna get done in whatever time frame that is. So right now we have, and it's a little bit misleading, that they keep saying that the temporary signals have been approved by DOT. That's fine for the temporary signals. The final signals have not been approved by DOT. And typically, that takes, I don't know where they're at in the process, but it may take another month. Let's just say it happens next week. The typical time frame for that approval, once it comes back, you have the approved plans, then you have to submit all your submittals. So you have your bases, your signals, your controller boxes, your arms, all that has to be submitted. That typically takes 3 months, goes through 3 different divisions of DOT. Materials and testing, goes through structures and signals. And then once that's approved, then you order your materials. So we don't have approved plans for the signals. Therefore, you don't have the submittals in. Therefore, you haven't ordered your materials, which will again take another couple months. So they talk about this project is 35% complete. Again, misleading because they started in February. 5 months later, they're at 35%. So they have to really get 65% more, so almost double, so another 10 months. But somehow they're going to do it in this kind of compressed time frame. And I think that is a little bit misleading. They show the traffic shift pattern, or the shift changes, sorry, staggering, and it's a little bit misleading. They talk about what they're going to do for the PM. They never showed any slide to us here tonight of what the AM is. So they're showing you half the information. So if you look at that, they're looking at, just in the PM, 1,200 trips in and out a day before the road's even complete. And assuming that the day shift is probably going to be perhaps the larger shift, or equal to, you're talking 2,400 trips without the road completed that was committed to. So we have, it was commented on that the west side will be clear of obstructions by July 1st. That's what was commented here a few minutes ago. And yet, they also recommitted that by June 21st, they're going to have our widening done at Calabar. So before you have the area clear, you're somehow going to have our road widened. That's what they committed to in their request, dated May 22nd. Don't think that's going to work. Again, they want to talk safety. They haven't asked for any kind of communication or dialogue with us. Councilman Dellinger was the first one that's reached out, and we've had good conversations back and forth on that. Typical widening liquidated damages, something this size, DOT, 4 lanes, you're talking $5,000 a day liquidated damages. They're offering $1,000 a day. It's a little bit embarrassing that they would think that little of their schedule to not really put their dollars where their mouth is. We have, we know there's going to be traffic delays out there. This is construction, there's traffic shifts, there's going to be traffic stops, short-term pain, long-term gain. But again, we had a commitment. So we are asking, once they open, if a TCO is granted before this, there's no putting that genie back in the bottle. They're open. And it may take them 10 months, 11 months, 12 months. We don't know. They don't know. Their guesses are kind of all over the road here. And they haven't clearly laid out a schedule as to how they're meeting these 3 milestones, June 21st, August 1st, September 30th. How do we know that they're on track? We don't. They keep claiming that all these things just pop up. Well, they shouldn't pop up. They should be out there proactively looking to resolve these issues. We don't see that happening. They talk about the again, the schedule, safety's a big concern for us with the traffic. That's been our concern since 2018 and again in 2019. And I believe that's why the council committed to the residents to gain our support that Amazon would not be permitted to open until the road is substantially complete. And that includes the Garner Road intersection. Work hasn't even started there yet. You got major high-pressure gas lines down there, you got major traffic signals that have to be moved, water lines that have to be moved, hasn't even started. And we're led to believe in the next 11 days they're gonna have the widening at Calabar done. I don't think that's gonna happen.
Mr. Carson, I don't want to be rude to you, sir, but in deference to other people who want to speak, could you tell me, can you wrap up fairly soon, sir?
Yep. So again, we are, we're asking that this letter that Hillwood sent out, request, this is only benefiting Amazon/Hillwood. It doesn't address in detail any kind of our concerns. They give these dates, if DOT approves. We don't even have approvals yet, and this is all moot. I think that, my grandfather had a saying that he commented quite often on: the lack of planning on your part doesn't constitute an emergency on mine. And that's what we're being asked to judge here. And again, we're asking that town council honor their previous multiple commitments that they made to the residents and to all the residents of Garner, not to allow Amazon to open until the road is substantially complete. End of story, period. That's what was committed to. That was the agreement. That's what they have to stand by. Thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you, Mr. Carson. Ms. Gibson, I'm going to call the next speaker from here, and could we alert someone upstairs that after this speaker, we'll hear from someone who's in the overflow area up there. So Larry Murphy is the next name I have on my list. Is Mr. Murphy here? Yes.
Hello,
Good evening,
my name is Larry Murphy. I'm a resident of Hunter's Mark, and Ralph covered a lot of things, so I will omit. I was going to say talk about some of the things that he went over, so I won't speak about those. What I did was I actually wrote down my comments so that I would be able to get it all out. So I'm just going to read what I have. There's a saying that when you say you will do something and you do not do it, you teach others, including yourself, that you cannot be trusted. This statement means a lot this day and time, where the people's faith in government and other things are already shaky. A time where leadership is continually missing the bar. At the original meeting, Hillwood Amazon presented and made it clear that the current state of the road was not capable of handling the traffic that would come along with this change. Hillwood and Amazon and the city council were all in agreement and presented how improved road construction would help the traffic. We were told that the road would be done prior to opening. That was the word that was given to the people who are mostly affected by the construction and whose lives are impacted before this facility opens. Now you want to open the road that already has delays, a road you want to add traffic from work shifts, hundreds of trucks a day, traffic from the ST Wooten site down the road on Garner Road, traffic from the new construction across from Wilmington, rush hour morning, evening traffic, lunch traffic. In August, we're going to have school bus traffic and construction traffic from other developments on Garner Road. You want to do this with no guarantees from Amazon, no guarantees on dates of completion. And you want to possibly tell us to deal with it. Deal with the fact that Amazon and City Council broke their promise. Deal with the fact that this would be a huge inconvenience for an undetermined time. And deal with the fact that our new neighbor is now allowed to dictate the quality of life we have had for decades in this community. At the meeting last week, the Amazon rep stated how Amazon is a great partner for the community. My question is, what kind of partnership is there when you're breaking the commitments before we even get started? Maybe they meant they're a great financial partner for the community, which we all can respect. Because if this goes through, Amazon and the City Council will have shown that their word and actions do not match. They will prove that money and power will always be more important than quality of life and the liberty of people. Thank you to Councilman Dellinger for his time and listening to the Hunter's Mark community. I really appreciate that. I would also like to recognize Councilman Singleton for being so upfront on his stance and trying to maintain the same standards that the council has placed on so many other developments that had road issues and that had to be addressed before opening. And sir, I really appreciate that. At this time, the only thing we are mainly asking you for is to just keep your word. That's something that you gave us. That's something that Amazon gave us. That's something that Hillwood gave us. And that's what we're asking for. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Do we know if someone is available who was in the overflow room? Okay. I believe I see her coming now. Okay. Send her on in, please. Hello, are you Miss Barnes? Yes. Okay. We'll recognize you at this time. If you will, state your full name and address for the record.
All right. My name is Yumiko Barnes. I live at 511 Hay River Street, across from Amazon. And yeah, I think Mr. Carson had a good point. This only benefits Amazon and Hillwood. It's not really fair that, I don't think it's fair that you guys aren't living up to your promises. Like, you told us this would be done, and it's hard to get out of our neighborhood right now already. And also, oh yeah, another problem is, so I don't want Amazon to open because the traffic's going to get worse as schools are going to open back up eventually and people are going to start going back to work. But if they do open back up, the late penalty is only $1,000 a day. That's kind of ridiculous. What's $1,000 compared to a life? Because right now it's dangerous. It's dangerous. So, but yeah, I think we should have maybe $1,000 for the first day they're late, and then each day, it adds on more and more, like a multiplier, something like that. But yeah, I don't think $1,000 is definitely not worth the life. And the whole point of this is for it to be safe. And currently, it does not feel safe when we leave the neighborhood. So yeah, that was it.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time. If we could have another person from upstairs come down, I'm going to recognize at this point. The names are on here as a couple, Mr. and Mrs. Keith, that's Bernard, and was it Razia? Keith, are you here? We don't know if they are upstairs or not, is that right? Okay. The Keith couple, is that right? Okay, if you'll check on that. And in the meantime, I will recognize, I don't have any other names on my list here, so who else in the audience came here desiring to speak? Yes, Mr. Dixon.
At the appropriate time, I was going to read a comment from a call that we got, just for the record, because the person did not make it, so.
All right, I tell you what, we can do that. I believe the Keith couple is coming as we speak. You want to do that now?
I'll do that, okay. Mr. Hodges received a voicemail from Mrs. Yarborough, saying, I guess she's saying if the request is approved, she's asking for us to consider reducing the speed limit and posting warning signs along the corridor. So I just wanted to read that for.
Okay.
Mr. Dickerson, that's Miss Yarborough on Jones Sausage Road, right?
On Jones Sausage Road,
Okay.
yeah, I don't have her exact address, but she lives
Former teacher.
on Jones Sausage Road. Yes.
Retired
I know
educator.
her. I know her.
She's known well by
I
several
don't think
people.
that comment was included in your spreadsheet, so I wanted to.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dixon. Is this Mr. and Mrs. Keith? Okay. And Ashley, if I could, are there other people upstairs waiting to come down and speak?
We're going to double check, but I think this is it.
Okay, all right. Does one of you plan to speak for both of you or for several other people? If that's okay, yes.
So I'm Garissa Holmes and my husband Bernard Keith are at 771 Hay River Street.
Okay.
And I just kind of want to piggyback off my previous neighbors, Mr. Carson and my other neighbors in the area. Hay River Street, well, Jones Sausage Road, the crossroad is very dangerous. I really think it's important for them to keep to that commitment, because even if you have that traffic light, when you go out, it's hard to get back in. So it could take me a minute or two to get out, but it could take me an hour or two just to get back in because of the overflow of the traffic. So I just wanted to agree with my other neighbors.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you for taking the time to come in. Did your husband, is he satisfied, or, yeah, okay? Okay.
You're a smart man.
You're a wise man. Okay, I believe, let me hear the gentleman coming in, and I'll get to you next, okay? Well, sir, had you planned to speak this evening? No. Okay, all right, fine. I didn't know if you were coming up upstairs. Okay, this lady right here.
Hi, my name is Emily Scott, 796 Hay River Street. I was not planning on speaking, but I did want to point out that while we had just a couple community members from Hunter's Mark speak, there are a lot of us that are in agreement, whether they've sent in things or weren't able to come or didn't want to come or weren't feeling like it was safe to come. Whatever the reasons are, we as a community are united, and we're 200 homes. And I just want to make sure that that point is made.
Thank you. Is your HOA chairman, person here this evening, do you know? Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else in the audience that came to speak this evening? Okay, ma'am? Do we get better sound at this podium or here?
Either one would
Okay,
work.
the one lady, I couldn't hear her quite as well, but. Couldn't hear her. If you'll state your name and address, please, ma'am.
My name is Judy Vaughn. I live in Hunter's Mark, 216 Hay River Street. And again, I appreciate the time that all of you have given us and the concern. I totally agree with my neighbors. We have a wonderful community. We have gotten together on several projects. And the gentleman that said they put a drone out and it was 85 seconds, is that correct, to get out onto Jones Sausage? I disagree with that. I do most of the driving in our family, and I can assure you, whatever time that drone was there, that is not accurate. We've had to wait several minutes to get out, and when we do get out, it's almost like taking your life in your hands, getting out into Jones Sausage to make a left-hand turn. I was looking at how many trucks is coming in, and again, that's the PM. No one said anything about the AM. It's going to put a horrendous burden on our community. And again, Amazon, I applaud your progress. I'm all for jobs. But no, that's too much for our little community to endure. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a minute, Mr. Murphy, let's see if I have anyone else in the audience here. And Ms. Gibson, we're satisfied that no one else in the overflow area desires to come down and speak. Is that right? Or yeah, okay, all right. Mr. Murphy, did you want to come back to the podium, if you will, please, sir?
One other thing I'd like to say, there's some things that can't be measured. And one thing I'll go back from the original meeting, they had an expert come up. I guess he was a real estate expert or something, and he said something to the effect that there would be little to no effect on the Hunter's Mark community based on the development and the road, right? I've been in this neighborhood 10 years, and a lot of my neighbors have been here longer than that. And one thing I can tell you that has drastically changed is the amount of our neighbors that are running away and moving. The amount of investors that are buying up our community that we can't stop. Investors don't have the same love for the community and the love for the Garner area that we do. And now we sit at, I think last count was over 50-something homes that investors own that are being rented out to renters. And we don't have a problem with people renting our community. but those are also the same homes that we have the most issues with trying to upkeep and maintain. So what I'm saying is, we can throw a lot of numbers out, we can say this, we can say that, but there's no guarantees on what's being said. And for me, that's my problem. This biggest issue with this is when we say, okay, September 30th, they also said in the newspaper and everything else where they had people, where they interviewed people from Amazon and everything, Amazon wasn't opened up to fourth quarter 2020. Last time I checked, June or July is not fourth quarter. So at the same time, we put a lot of things out, we say a lot of things, but we need to stick to the things that we stand for and the things that we said and we tell the people that we're gonna do. Those are the things we say we need to stick to and the things we need to do. All right? Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Okay, anyone else? I don't see any other persons that I believe have indicated a desire to speak. At this point, I'm going to call a recess in just a few minutes, but if any council member at this point desires to speak or respond in any fashion, I'll give one round on that, and then I think we'll probably recess at that point and then come back in session. So, Mr. Singleton, do you have anything at this point?
I have a question. Several people are here, and I don't know if they're with the Hunter's Mark or Jones Sausage Road. How many people here live in Hunter's Mark or off Jones Sausage Road? So I can see several of you did not speak. Okay, I just want to find that out. Okay. I appreciate your last statement there, Mr. Murphy, about no guarantees.
How about Ashland?
Pardon? Ashland subdivision also. I said off Jones Sausage Road, yes.
Nobody here from Ashton subdivision, is that right? Okay.
Appreciate Mr. Murphy's comment about no guarantees, because the city council on June 2nd, 2018 did vote unanimously to stay with the conditions. Only two of us are on the council now that were on that council, me and Ms. Behringer. Mr. Marshburn is now the mayor. Mr. Kennedy is no longer on here, and Mr. Johns passed away in January of 2019, so, that's just a fact. But the condition was set. Mr. Carson talks about substantial completion. 35 cents is not substantial completion. And $1,000 a day is pitiful. I agree. It should be one other zero beside the one at least. Get somebody moving. Anyway, everybody knows how I feel like this anyway. I'm not going to change my mind, so I'm pretty blunt about it. I voted on a condition. That's what we stick with. That's what we do. Comparing Amazon to other people who got temporary COs is like comparing an apple to a pumpkin or a watermelon. The school and Cabela's are 80, 90,000 square feet. This is a wonderful facility at over 2 million square feet. You don't compare apples to a pumpkin. It doesn't work that way. And it's a totally different animal. And also in their defense, though, no one has had to make such substantial transportation improvements for a project in Garner that I can recall, other than just making the school system paved Bryan Road, a dirt road, pave a road. But that was a 2-lane road, not a 4-lane sidewalk divided median road. So this is a substantial transportation improvement they have had to make. Thank you.
Mr. Matthew, while we're in this end, and we'll have a chance later
Yeah,
on.
I'm going to hold off till we hear some feedback to
All right.
maybe some of the things that were brought up and keep the flow going.
Okay. Down this way, Ms. Behringer.
Just like to say that I appreciate everybody being here and coming in and making your feelings and your statements known. I appreciate Amazon. Of course, we want this facility here. It's going to do wonders for our town, but we also live here. And so we need to think about what that means. It means a whole lot more than just a 60-day or a 90-day extension. So we'll deliberate some more and we'll hear some more and then we'll make a decision.
Dillinger.
Just a short comment that I appreciate everyone coming out. And I think I'll just repeat again, I think the conditions that are before the council presently are just not sufficient to move forward. It's not an adequate compromise, given the fact that, as Mr. Singleton has pointed out, the conditions were there, they were known about, it's not a surprise, and for the approach, the good amount of goodwill of being a part of the community and communicating changes, anticipating changes and opening, you need to communicate with the community directly. There was no surprise that this would require a special use permit change. That should not have been a surprise to a company like Amazon. You should have engaged the community and this council accordingly to partner to get it done or make a change so that we could reach out to the community, so that you could reach out to the community. You didn't do that. You want to be a good partner in the community, be a good partner in the community. Not after the fact, just say you're bringing jobs. That's not a partnership. We got thousands of partners in the community, and they do more than just bring jobs. They live here. They pay taxes here. They go to school here. They're neighbors. You can fly in across the country. That's great. We live here. I'll get off my soapbox. I'm sorry. I'll wait for later.
All right. Mr. Vance.
Okay, again, just to reiterate some things that have been said, thank you all, the citizens of Garner, for coming out and voicing your concerns. It's greatly appreciated to hear your concerns and what you're bringing forth. It's very important. Public involvement is an essential part of any development, and to incorporate the community is necessary to get that harmony and to work together. I will not get on the soapbox for anything. Things do happen, and this is one situation where it's a challenge of growth. It really is. Just to look at where we came from roughly 10 years ago to nothing there, the struggle of trying to look at, to pull in industry that will be a substantial tax base was a serious challenge, which I was a part of. I am happy to say that that Amazon is here, and once this is completed, I know I've sensed that there'll be an essential and important part of the community as a whole, adding to the community's tax base tremendously, and also just jobs and just other activities that will be an asset to the community. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you all. I was going to dig at Mr. Matthews for a minute. I think he has just in passing alluded to something about being here until Saturday morning, so I don't expect us to be here that long, Mr. Matthews. I'm going to take a 10-minute recess to give everybody a chance to reset, restroom break, water, and we'll be back at about 8:40. I had the privilege of serving on the Garner Economic Development Corporation, which was charged with the responsibility of looking at putting back in use the old ConAgra site. If you're from Garner, you know the history. There was a plant out there that employed quite a number of people. Tragic accident out there. Several people lost their life. A number of people were injured. And so a major employer in this town was gone, the tax base and the whole bit. So actually, Mr. Vance and I have that history. We both served on the Garner Economic Development Corporation, and we worked long and hard to market the acreage out there. Good site, great site. We had a lot of people look at it. Over time, Amazon came onto the horizon, and we were excited when Amazon made their commitment to come to our fair town. I still have that excitement. I believe probably all of our council members have that excitement. And so I would say to Amazon, we do anticipate in time a lot of good things your company has to offer to our area here. And as mayor, I look forward to the benefit that it's going to be to our citizens here. As you've heard the discussion this evening, and I'm not prejudging, but there are concerns, and I've sat where these people have sat, and one of the most difficult things to do, I think, is to vote on something where you have competing interests and differing views, and it's not always easy to make those kinds of decisions. I would say to those who maybe sometimes would suggest that, well, public officials say one thing and do another. I guess we deserve that criticism sometime, but I would ask most of you to consider, what were you doing 5 years ago? Did you change your mind on any number of things that came into your life? All of us here can relate to that. With the as I became mayor, I never envisioned that I would be dealing with issues like COVID-19 and others that we find ourselves faced with. So I would hope that you would understand that over time, as circumstances changes, sometimes people don't necessarily change their mind, but they do have to take into consideration new things that occur and that can change one's view. Having said those things, I'm not a voting member of this body, and so it's to the council to make this decision. And so we're all the way back to the issue that came before us where we were asked to modify or amend a condition of an SUP. And so council, unless anybody has a closing word, okay, maybe Mr. Matthews, briefly.
If I can make a comment, got a chance to talk to some of the folks out here, and I've seen that a lot of folks with the Amazon family, I mean all of you guys and ladies, and y'all are engaging with some of the public, that's a good thing. I observed that. I hope some good things come from it. I know you folks did a presentation right at the beginning. After hearing the comments that have been made and whatever interaction you had with any of the residents, I guess my question is there some things that maybe you guys want to take a look at again before we push this thing forward to maybe we could work through a little bit better from your side of the house and bring our staff into it before we engage in this, go to a vote here? I'm just bringing that up, Mr. Mayor, because they've heard a lot tonight, and from the feet on the ground out here, so to speak. And so I'm saying, I know what you said in the beginning, but do you guys want to back up and let's punt, and you guys have a little discussion with yourself and well as residents, and all this don't have to happen tonight on my part, okay? I'm just speaking for myself here. I got my colleagues, they got their own thoughts, I'm sure, but in all fairness, to give everything and everybody an opportunity to sit down and talk about this, can we maybe take a look, see this thing again? And I'm just offering that up, Mr. Mayor. I'm not sure what their thoughts would be on that. So I'm just, in a spirit of trying to make this thing work, that's where I'm going with it.
I usually am always open to other discussion and or other options, even though I sense that this council has dealt with this for some period of time, and the council, I believe, is ready to make some decision this evening. Any other council member care to respond to Mr. Matthews's entreaty, shall I say?
I'll just add, I think I'm receptive to what Mr. Matthews is saying. However, I think that it is incumbent upon this council to vote on what is before this council before proceeding in any other direction.
Okay. Any other comments by council?
Also, it's ironic, today is 11 years since the accident.
You're right.
Today is 11 years since the accident.
Yep. Okay, council, I'm going to call for a motion in regards to the issue before us, in regards to the amendment of the SUP, and we'll see what the wishes of the council is at this time.
Mr. Mayor, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay, Mr. Matthews, I recognize you.
It might get shot down, but I'll put it out there. Mr. Mayor, I move that we postpone this vote 7 days to take another look-see, revisit this thing, give everybody a chance to come back and address specific issues that were brought to us tonight, and see if there's some common ground we can reach. Give it just 7 more days, and if that would be receptive with them, that would give us time. We've come a long way with this project, and we can go ahead and do the vote tonight, but I don't think 7 more days is going to make or break this situation, and in all fairness to the residents and the board, as well as to people presenting this project. So my motion is to delay this vote for 7 days.
Okay, council, you've heard the motion. Is there a second? Okay, hearing no second, Mr. Matthews, I believe the motion dies for lack of a second. So floor is still open for an alternate motion or a
Mayor,
motion.
we were asked to consider an amendment to SUP SP 1801, Site Plan Condition Number 2. That was the request. I move that we deny the request and that the original Site Plan Condition Number 2 stay in as was originally voted on and approved.
Second.
Okay. Do have a proper motion made and a second at this point in time. Mr. Singleton made the motion. Mr. Dellinger made the second to the motion. Before we vote, I will ask if there is any other comment and/or question by any council members at this point in time.
Mr. Mayor, just as a point of clarification, if this vote goes through, between now and everything's been discussed, is there opportunities in here at all, or is this just a mute issue that we're locked in on the dates? There's no time ever after between now and then we can sit down and talk about any of this? Or is it just, it's going to be dead with this one vote, I guess is my question.
I think, I'll answer the, I think what it kills is what's before us. I don't think it precludes anything else.
Right.
It's simply a vote on what's before us today.
I'm not the legal expert, but I would agree with that. I mean, I think we're voting on the amended SUP, and we're voting to deny that.
I agree with that.
Okay, sir. All right, comments all around, okay? All right, all those in favor of the motion before us at this point in time, please vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, vote no. Okay, hearing none, the ayes carry the motion, and the motion is denied.
Well, the motion passes.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, you're exactly right. The motion passes, okay. I don't believe there's any other items of business to come before this council this evening. In fact, this was a special session call for this purpose. So I will entertain a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion properly made and seconded for adjournment. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor of adjourning, please vote aye.
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 No opposition. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.